Well, hello, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Olympians of all ages, Grimjack 21502 proudly brings to you the Project Cronus mid-season finale. Now, I can see that you're all either come here for two reasons. One, a kick-ass Pulp Cthulhu story with a fantastic cast, or two, to learn from my incredible tech expertise when it comes to OBS and streaming. I promise I will show you numerous ways to correct issues midstream, if at all possible. I specialize in audio issues, so I will be throwing those out there, make it look like I've made a mistake at some point, just to see if one, you can catch it, and two, then we go through step by step on how to correct an issue like that if it happens to you while midstream. But until then, let's go back to the first reason why you're here, which is a Pulp Cthulhu story with a kick-ass crew who has done insanity-driven RP this season so far. They have done everything that I have asked them to do in two different timelines of 1915 and 1933. And it's time to kick it up a notch, I think. It's time to really take this one to the next level and see exactly what it is we can do to let's add some clarity to everything. I think that's what I'm going to end this. Let's add some clarity. But before we begin with the clarity edition, let's go around and talk to everybody, see how they're feeling this Saturday afternoon, and then get into the story. Let's start with Kiana. Kiana, how are you doing?
I was doing okay, and then you did that whole spiel. Now I'm not so okay with what's happening, but I'm here. And I'm excited to play. I will be playing Mae Young, who is a inventor, engineer. She's doing fine in 1915, just, doing some murder investigation. No big deal. 1933, there's a lot of things going on. She doesn't know what to do. She's trying to solve 10 million problems at once. I have no idea if it's actually going to work out, but we'll see.
Hey, you know what? I always say that when there's optimism, even one that's confused, it's better than no optimism at all. Awesome, Kiana. I love it. Let's drop straight down to Dawn, who was in here alone last week, doing a little one-on-one with Poseidon and his keeper. And let's see. Let's let Dawn sit back and relax as he's got some more people in his corner this week. Dawn, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm great. There were moments last week where I was like, well, that's it. That's okay. It's over. But I'm glad to be back. I'm glad that we have a full cast. I love this crew. I think 1915 Barnabas, his biggest success is finding a pen and a piece of paper. And 1933 Barnabas survived a conversation face to face with Cthulhu. So, they're going at different speeds right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's in store for 1915 Barnabas.
To be fair, 1915 Barnabas, that was tough paper to find. I mean, that was needle in the haystack. That was some Holmesian shit there to be able to uncover that. Let's go over to your partner in crime and potential defense attorney, Finney. How are you doing today, and how is Honest Pete Abraham?
Well, I am definitely not one to change horses mid-race, so I'm gonna keep my money on Terrified for the win. So
terrified,
absolutely terrified. Right? I am as Finney and as Honest Pete, just utterly terrified, but excited to be back. And good things are gonna happen. They have to.
Optimism. It's like turkey on Thanksgiving. You're not sure what it's going to be like until we cut into it. Awesome. Looks good from the outside. They usually do. Let's jump up to Summer. Summer, you are playing perhaps the most complicated individual between 15 and 33 in one, Mimi and Aphrodite. How are you doing today? And does clarity sound better for somebody as complicated as Mimi and Aphrodite?
You use the phrase like take it up a notch, and I'm just feeling like we should really pump the brakes and slow things down I learn by slowing everything down to a crawl. You got to say it a couple times for me to pick up what's going on. So I don't know if, getting more intense is necessarily a good idea, but I'm feeling really good. 1915 Mimi has never done anything wrong in her life and is just having a really good time with her new best friend, Joe. So I'm excited for that, for a cat hunt. That's I'm sure is going to turn out something. It can't turn out nothing. Aphrodite is a little bit of a different story. She's a little bit crazy. Just that much.
A little bit crazy, a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll. We'll have to see exactly how Aphrodite fits into all of this as we jump. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Project Cronus, either here on Twitch or there on the YouTubes, it is a story told in two parts, as we have the same cast of characters, the same players playing the same characters, but they are told by their older versions in 1933, presumably in their last case together, and in 1915, their younger selves, presumably their first case together. And the incidents and the effects of the past may or may not have a bearing on the future, as many people have said, well, if they die in the past, they die in the future. This is Cthulhu, where anything's a possibility. I will tell you this, major events that are started in the past will definitely have ramifications in the future. Death, potentially. Doing something historically that might change the course or the face of the earth absolutely will have some type of change. But there's live ammunition being fought and fired in both 15 and 33, so these characters, both versions, 15 and 33, are subject to the whims and the desires of the elder gods and me, your benevolent keeper, as we sit back and get ready to tell the mid-season finale tale of Project Cronus, entitled God's Damned. So as our Olympians, future and past, are settling into their respective timelines, it's best for us to go back 2 weeks to see exactly what happened to the group when last we saw them. In 1915, they were brought in to help with a potential murder or suicide that happened on board the Orient Express. Because there wasn't any a higher ranking inspector or anybody from the military on board, everyone turned to Barnabas Norwood, who is a respected admiral in the Navy, somebody that could be leaned upon for their authority despite being of a foreign power, someone that might have a little bit more expertise on all of this. So as that side of everything happened in 15, and as the investigation continued, they were searching through the room of what's her last name or first name? Margaret Bromwell? They're searching through Margaret Bromwell's room. They uncovered a couple things. One, that she had cats that are no longer there. Two, that she had something going on in there, that when a record player played, the name of another one of the passengers sounded off through there, and we were faced with not just the recognition that Lorna Campbell Barnes, a fellow passenger, was named in this recording, but that it possessed an eldritch nature to it. And as the name was read, a compulsion fell over the rest of the crew, the rest of the cast, and the PCs, as the Olympians were faced with the thought of finding this woman. But they were all able to force and use their powers of will to overcome, but it was so much that their bodies fell unconscious. But as they did so, one of them remained upright, and that one was none other than Mimi, the future Tyrannish, the future Aphrodite, the being of who knows the width and breadth of her power. She was told by her mysterious passenger, this shadowy man that comes forward and whispers doom and gloom to her, that because of the death of the woman, the events had been set into motion that would result in the death of honest Pete Abraham. And through the course of this investigation, the Orient has stopped, and this body presumably has been found behind the tracks, along the tracks behind the train. But in 1933, where things are that much better, They're in an asylum. It's the same asylum that Barney attended after he went insane. Let me see. They saw somebody come into the asylum by the name of Maxine Schmidt, someone that they had met on the Orient Express. Pete chased her, got to a door he couldn't open. He saw a member of Project Athena, Cato Callahan, screamed for her, continued to scream for her, beat on the door, continued to beat on the door, but it wouldn't open. In the same hallway, we had Aphrodite, who has just destroyed a portion of this, we're calling it the temple that they were in, arrive in the room and collapse, carrying a tablet that was shown to them by their friend, Jack Kilgrave. May has crept forward, leaving Barney as he's contemplating what has happened, crept over to Aphrodite, and without any kind of comfort other than presence, just remained there. And that took us to the events of last week, where we had Barney go on a journey of remembrance in his 1898 sinking of the USS Maine, the events of which are captured for all eternity on the VOD and in YouTube. If you would like to go back and see the origin story of Barnabas Norwood, I suggest you would, because it ends with a, spoiler alert, conversation with Cthulhu, which has a little bit of bearing on what we're going to be doing here today. But what we're going to be doing here today first is we're going to 1933. We're back in the asylum hallway. May is kneeling down beside a crumpled Aphrodite. Pete is at the opposite end of the hall, banging on a door that just recently closed, sealing him off from Maxine Schmidt. And Barney has just fallen back through the door of his old asylum room that he had opened. He is soaking wet, and he crumples to the ground. Welcome back, Olympians.
Barnabas is just sort of stunned. He's shivering a little bit cold. He'll turn just enough to make sure that he can shut the door if it's still open.
It closes.
But he's quiet and wet, and not out of it, and just kind of in his own head.
May, you would have seen the door get kicked open, Barney walk in, and a second later, fall back to the wood floor with a splash of salt water.
So she has her two focuses now. She doesn't move from where she is, and she kind of like turns her head. Dear, are you all right?
Oh, yeah, May, I'm okay.
What happened?
He slowly stands up. He looks around. Is Pete still pounding on the door too?
Yeah, absolutely. But at this point, it's calming down probably a little bit, and he realizes slowly that it would seem the way is shut. So he's at this point he's probably turned around and he's just slumped his back up against the door as like a defeated fighter on the ropes.
I just had an experience, May, that I want to share with everyone. I think we all need to have a conversation. Pete, are you okay?
You know me, Bonnie. Always okay. And with a little bit of fake chipper in his step or limp, he'd begin making his way towards the center of the hallway.
Barney will, sloshing, still wet, come over to kneel down close to May and Aphrodite.
The moment you start to come over, she like kind of abruptly stops crying with like this like sharp inhale, and you see her get really, really tense, and she slowly looks up at you. What can she feel from you?
At first, resolve, but the longer your gaze lingers on him, fear. And
You
it's
also
sort of a
sense
conflict.
you also sense something much older. Determination, but it's not coming from Barney.
Her head just kind of tips to the side, and she looks like kind of confused.
He'll hold out both hands to her as he kneels down, just out of arm reach. Aphrodite, if I hurt you, I'm sorry. I was just scared. But I'm not gonna hurt you again. Okay?
All right.
He'll reach a hand out for May.
He gives him a bit of a quizzical look at first, and then kind of, and meets his hand.
This place we're in looks a lot, at least, like the asylum I spent a number of years at after we broke up, the team. And I went through that door right over there, and I had a flashback to the Maine. And Barney has definitely told everyone the story of the Maine on the team. It's something that's kind of bothered him and puzzled him for a long time. So you guys would be familiar with the full story. I re-experienced everything just a little different. But this time, when I was down there in that temple, or whatever it is, underneath the ocean, I came face to face with an entity. I think this entity is the same creature we saw through that window back there. That giant thing out there. And it told me that Robert Meadham is working to bring some kind of devastation, otherworldly power to our world. I made a promise in exchange for its help. I would work with you, and we would try to stop it. Then I came out of the door, wet. And that's what happened to me.
So you remember what happened?
Some of it.
Okay.
There was something else too, May. I came face to face with this creature, and I thought my brain was gonna fall out of my ears. But then I felt Ruby. She was there with me, just for a moment. And she told me that we gotta fight. She saved me from going crazy. And then she was gone.
That's her girl. She's alright, right? That has to be.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, the last time was one last fight. think we have another one in us.
Well, I don't think we got much of a choice. And I don't intend to roll over and die here. But if we're going to do this, Pete, Aphrodite, we're going to have to be a team. Like back then. We're going to have to work together.
Aphrodite, you said you were kind of out of arm's reach. She starts like crawling over very slowly.
You can feel his fear increase as you get close, but he doesn't pull away.
She reaches out a hand and puts it on your cheek. And she just takes a very deep breath. She says, "Breathe easy, Poseidon." And I would like to give him peace.
Okie dokie.
I'm gonna use everything I got left. I got 8.
Okie dokie.
Mm-mm-mm.
And there you go. And what does peace do?
It just is this most intense feeling of ease. And since both you and May are here close by, it is going to heal you each for 1d6. Mm-hmm.
Barnabas isn't the kind of man who smiles very often. He's a very, very severe guy, especially in 1933. But you feel his heart slow down. It's not pounding in his chest, and you feel the fear wash away, and he lets out just a soft sigh, and his lips curl in a closed mouth smile.
She just looks at you very seriously and slowly pulls her hand back.
Thank you.
Pete,
Whoa.
you're still at the end of the hallway, correct?
Yep.
Yep, I'm making my way towards where the group is, probably just trying to overhear the conversation as best, because Pete has found sometimes the best thing he can do is just try to say the right thing. So if is he able to get with the group?
Well, as you start moving down, you see that Aphrodite has kind of crawled over and placed a hand on Barney's cheek. And as you take a couple steps away from the door, it opens. And you hear it swing behind you, and something crashes into the back of Honest Pete Abraham as you turn to regard the blasted and burned form of Maxine Schmidt, and a fireball rushes towards you from wherever the door has opened from. I'm going to need you to make a dodge check for me, sir, as you have hell coming through the hall.
Let's go ahead and spend a crit.
An excellent decision, and one that you surely won't regret. I will also ask this. You may take Maxine Schmidt with you for a strength roll, or you may leave her behind and not roll at all. I will let you know this is a moral question, not a mechanical one. As you've already spent a crit, taking her with you is something you can do. If you do so and fail the strength roll, it won't hurt you. If you leave her there, you're still going to make it out. Does Pete take Maxine with him?
Well, Greg, every vote counts. So yes.
Okay, so as you get rolled up on, each of you will take 5 damage as the fire licks through there. It would have been much, much worse had you taken the full brunt of the fire. But you can see that you have just saved the life of Maxine Schmidt, as she has 8 hit points remaining, now 3. So as you roll over and this concussive blast comes through the hallway, Barney, for you, this is eerily similar, as you have just been in a closed quarter aboard the USS Maine in your mind's eye, or however you had been transposed there, and this sound is very artillery in nature. In fact, it's safe to say that Barney would be able to identify kind of small explosives like this as being a grenade, a piece of dynamite, something man-made, something that isn't an artillery shell being fired off, or a rifle. This explosion is definitely some type of munition, and as it goes off and leaps through the area with shrapnel and fire, a room across the hall from Barney's room blows open, and a door closer to the explosion point cracks. As for the door that Maxine came through, it is no longer there. Instead, there is a purple swirl that seems to just be existing within the frame. What would you like to do, kids?
Pete, you okay?
Yeah, Bonnie, we're okay. It got a little bit hot under the collar there, but we're okay. You?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. So look, if we are in this together, if we're gonna take the fight to meet him, first thing we gotta do is get out of here. Any ideas? He's looking between the open door, the cracked door, and the purple swirl.
Aphrodite's eyes are fixed on the purple.
You can all roll spot hiddens for me if you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, these extreme rolls coming through. Aphrodite on point today. She's dialed in, man. Okay. So let's see. Spot hidden successes by everyone but May. We'll go with the 2 guys first, as we see that Honest Pete Abraham and Barney, you guys make out the following in the hallway as you're looking between the 3 points that were addressed by Barney. We'll save Aphrodite's for the end, as she is fixed solely on the purple. As you look around, you see that the door that was blown open, it bears a mark very similar to Barney's door, where his was motioned with the identifier of B. Norwood on the outside. And this one says both the full first and second name, or surname, Simon Meadham. In addition to that, the door that was wounded bears no markings. It seems to have been, Barney vaguely remembers it as being like a utility closet. But once again, anything in this hallway is suspect, as the final archway, the one that, the portal that Maxine Schmidt just came out of, is swirling with purple. Aphrodite, as you look into the purple, you see beyond the frame of the door. The purple vanishes, and as your eyes kind of just take in and soak in the detail beyond this field, you see a mountaintop. You see a farm. You see a man running with what looks like a military rifle around the corner of a house. You see several men in the front yard of this house that are all holding weapons. And you see a little girl holding a rifle as she points it at these men. And you're back in the hallway.
This door here reads Simon Meadham. If it's anything like the door I went through, it's gonna take us to a point in his life, whoever he is. I don't know if it's real or some sort of just reflection. He looks over to Maxine Schmidt, who's on the ground by Pete. Is that right? Is she
Correct.
awake?
She seems to be out of it. She's missing an ear and has burns along her neck and shoulders. She definitely wasn't missing an ear when you saw her last, nor did she have the burns on her shoulders. So these are relatively fresh wounds, despite their burn nature.
How old is she? Has she aged comparatively to us, or is she younger?
Mm-hmm. She's in her mid-30s. You remember her being right around 20 when you met her aboard the Orient Express.
Pete, you think she'll talk to you?
It's worth a shot, I suppose. Any information we can gather, we're gonna need it.
Yeah, she's got to know something. She came through here, ran back out. How she's here at all, there must be a way out. She's got to know.
There are people through there. And she points at the purple.
People. Okay. I don't know how much I want to go back into a place so purple. Last time wasn't great.
You get used to it.
Do you know what it is, Aphrodite? That purple world or whatever it is?
It's a feeling. But there's always a way out.
Pete, is Maxine... Is she awake?
She still hasn't stirred, right, Greg?
She's breathing, but beyond that, she appears to either have... She took a shot to the head when she came through, and...
Okay, so, Pete will just kind of give her like a light jostle, and call for Fraulein Maxine. And I don't know if I would need a luck roll on here to see if it's still contained within, but to try to pull out what I would normally carry as a pocket flask containing some probably brown-colored liquor as an attempt to kind of jolt some life back into an individual.
Yeah, go ahead and make a luck roll for it. We'll see, because you've been thrown around quite a bit. We'll see if it's still... if your lucky flask is indeed where it needs to be. Everybody, that is a 1 out of 100. So what my ruling is going to be as your benevolent keeper from this point forward. your flask is always with you now. No matter what happens, no matter what you're wearing, no matter if you're in the bathtub, you can reach beneath the water and pull out the flask. It is always with you. And so it is there, it is full, it's a great temperature. It's perfect. So
Yes, so he would probably selfishly probably take like a quick swig himself to steady his nerves, and then just kind of in an attempt to put some like on the lips of Maxine, just to try to create some kind of wake up.
yeah, you're
Though
beginning
but not enough to drown an individual. I'll specify that, Greg. I don't want you to.
Right. It's medicinal purposes here. And so what I'm going to have you do is, why don't you roll a first aid roll, as this is Honest Pete Abraham's version of field triage, which is just it's very Civil War. Just administer booze. That's the first step. Blown off limb, administer booze. So the booze is being okay. It's not working yet, but there's she's been.
There's always more. There's always more.
That's right. That's the best thing about booze. It apparently never runs out, and it's the medicine that everybody loves to take. What are the rest of you doing as you have the other room open, the Simon Meadham open, and of course the purple? What would you guys like to do?
Aphrodite kind of glances back at the room that she came from, the one that had the cylinder. And she looks at May. He's still in there.
Jack? And May kind of like looks over. I don't know if we're gonna be able to go in there.
I tried to hold on to him.
I know. You tried. We'll find him again if he's still somewhere in here.
It's like a wall of water, right, through that door. When I went through, I swam through that water out there where Jack was. I didn't see him, but I did see through different windows. In each window, it was a different time. I saw us when Pete got grabbed by those wires. I saw other people I didn't even recognize. I think we can move through it, but that entity is out there too. And you don't want to see him, and you don't want him to see you.
I think I would fully endorse that plan. Being unseen and unheard would probably be best.
I don't want to leave Jack behind, but we go out there, there's no saying that we'll be able to find him at all.
Then where do we go?
I don't know. What do you think, Aphrodite? Into the purple? Or do we take a look at the life of Simon Meadham?
We could always come back here.
I hope not.
We should open every door.
That thought scares him quite a bit, but he's also telling himself that he doubted Aphrodite before.
She kind of like smirks and she says, I'll go first.
Be careful.
And she will get up and pick up the tablet and start walking towards Meadham's room. Gonna
Anybody going with her, or is she going by
go
herself?
on through.
May looks to Barney and just kind of, should we?
Barney will try to crack a reassuring smile and say, I think we're all in this together now. We gotta be a team.
Just like old times.
I hope not. Pete, do you think you can carry Maxine? I don't want to leave her here. She might still have answers.
Yeah, I can certainly try.
I'll
But
help.
the quick question: the door that I saw Kate through is the one that contained the purple. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So Pete would probably be looking more at the purple door as his way out. But he kind of reconsiders it, and then trying to pick Maxine up will make his way to Meadham's door.
Okay, yeah, we'll allow you. You can heft her up. She's a very small. She doesn't weigh that much, so you're able to. She's dead weight at the present, but you're able to kind of get her up and walk over towards the door. Oh, we just had a donation come in. Let me see what that is before we. 10 more smiles. Surely luck shall shine on honest Pete with this glorious boon. A boon for honest Pete Abraham, who, if the prophecy of last time comes to pass, may surely need it. So thank you very much, sir, for promoting the channel and voting for honest Pete Abraham. As you all go over and peek into the door, if Aphrodite goes ahead and steps through, that was your intention, to step through?
Yeah.
Nothing happens. You see a room that looks identical to the make that Barney would recognize as being an asylum room. You know, there's nothing in there that could hurt the individual or the patient that would be interred within. As you look around the room further, you see that there are scribblings on the walls, very light. You see that there are, again, these stick figures that Barney would immediately kind of associate with what he saw on the Orient Express as kind of smattered and scattered throughout the room. But in conjunction with these rudimentary drawings, there are more intricate drawings that are written on the walls in perfect penmanship. They are spaced evenly. It's almost calligraphy, as there are portions of rituals and spells that are written across the wall. Make an occult roll for me. Anybody that would like. Barney, you may do so with advantage. Okay, so Barney, as you're looking around, you're able to immediately identify these things as spells and rituals of transposition and teleportation. It seems that whatever was occurring in this room and whoever's hand wrote and scribed these rituals on the walls and on the top of the desk and any flat surface that could be used, it was either an attempt to adhere or affix the spell and ritual to the wall or the desk or wherever they were placed, or was merely a way of writing it down to remember. As you don't see any paper, it seems as if this place also, paper is a hot commodity. So as you're looking around and kind of reading all of these in, you see that each of them seem to be complete. Whether or not they were activated, usually there's residual magics or at least at the very least elements of what was used in these components to perform these rituals. A lot of times candles or ash or things of that nature. You can't find any residue or any where it looks like there was an actual ritual performed, but they all seem to be complete spells of teleportation or transposition. May, as everyone's kind of looking around and doing these things, you look over and you see outside the window of Simon Meadham's room, and you see maybe a mile or two away Victoria Peak. The window's open just a crack, and as the thick curtains kind of billow for a moment, you see that there's sunlight outside. And with this inch or two crack, you can hear the sights, or see the sights and hear the sounds and smell the smells of cooking food, hints of the ocean, the press of two cultures. You hear a newsboy, and all of you hear this, saying in both Chinese and English, "United States vows revenge for foreign attack. Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain." And then it's repeated again in Chinese. It is Hong Kong's western side.
Oh boy. May goes over to the window.
Yep.
So, as she looks outside, it looks like the view from her apartment back in Hong Kong.
It looks a lot like the view from her apartment in Hong Kong. You're not sure. It's, time, the passage of which is difficult to adhere and affix to a position of windows, but it's all really just windows. And this one seems to be the one you remember. May, as you're looking out upon home, there is a crash from the wounded door down the hall. Honest Pete, as you are standing in with the last into the Simon Meadham room, you have the first view of the creature that oozes into the hallway. As this creature oozes into the hallway, you stand, and I'm going to need you to roll a d10. Whatever you get is the immediate sanity loss you experience for seeing this creature, as it seems to have been stitched together by the forge of a madman. As you see, with a 10 sanity loss, your insanity resulting from that sanity loss is you're frozen, Pete Abraham. And as Maxine Schmidt slides from your grasp and drops to the ground, this creature begins to rush almost like spilled water, ink, or some type of combustible fluid. It rolls and reels up against the wall, slides and crashes against the other as it rushes towards you, released from whatever hell it had been entrapped in. And as it comes forward, you see, not by familiarity, but by recognition from papers and perhaps conventions that you have attended as a politician, you see the face of Albert Einstein. You see the face of Joseph Dietrich. And last, before it hits you, you see the face of Lorna Campbell Barnes. And as you all hear this rush towards you, as Barney is frozen, It crashes into Barney for 13 damage and carries him down the hallway as if it has swept him away in a current, rushing him towards the cylinder room at the end of the hall. But that's 1930. That's 1933. Don't worry. We're going to 1915, everybody. So welcome back to 1915, the land of elusive papers, and just, prophecies of death. I mean, we'll just see about whether or not those prophecies come to exist. So as you all have fallen unconscious, we are going to pick up in 1915 as we left it, as the shadowy figure whispers into the ear of Mimi, Aphrodite, in code name only at this point. With the woman's death, it will be the end of honest Pete Abraham. And he's gone.
Are all my friends on the floor?
They're all on the floor. And as he vanishes from sight, there is a lingering whisper that says, "Find the body to save Dionysus. Or rather Pete." And the sounds return of the stilled train.
She stands there for a really, really long time, just with everybody collapsed on the floor. And then she kneels down and starts to kind of shake May. May, you gotta get up.
Do I actually feel this? Okay.
Yep, you feel it.
And she kind of just like slowly kind of opens her eyes. What just happened?
Y'all passed out.
Oh, okay. Mae's gonna like slowly sit up. Huh. So we did.
Yeah, help me get the others up.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Yeah, she'll go over to Joseph and start shaking him. Upsy daisy. Time to get up.
Mae does the same with whoever's directly next to her.
Yeah, Joe's there with you guys, and within a few minutes, you're able to kind of get everybody awake as you kind of come to here in the room of Margaret Bromwell.
Barney gets up. It's with a start, and he has like a moment of violence in his eyes. Where are they? Who?
Barney, it's fine. Are you okay?
Yeah. Did they gas us? What happened? He's sort of recognizing that everybody else had fallen asleep too, or is on the ground.
I'm not sure what it was, but y'all passed out. I didn't.
Right before we passed out, we heard that creepy phonogram, right? That's like what happened right before.
You heard that Lorna Campbell Barnes as it interrupted the jazz that was playing in the machine and the device, and then you left this world for a bit.
Would there be any indication that what happened was magical in nature?
Would you like to do some type of check to verify?
I mean, I could do occult if that's appropriate, or power, or
Let's do a power check because this is a residual thing that might be able to be sensed as.
just a regular success.
Um, yeah, Eldritch Jazz. Yeah, you believe that there was something in there that wasn't normal. Now, you're not ready, Barney wouldn't be ready to commit to it being magic, but it might easily be a form of, if you're looking for another explanation that he might defer to, something that would be hypnotic or some type of like a deep mental suggestion that was given, perhaps in low level tones that you guys didn't hear before the actual words were given. There's nothing as you look around that would indicate that this was a type of spell. However, it could be. Without a higher success, though, it's not something that you might jump to as far as a conclusion.
As he gets up, he's sort of looking around. Is there maybe like a hairbrush or something that would have like some of her hair still on it?
Sure, yeah. She had toiletries there.
Okay. Yeah, he'll pick up a hairbrush without really saying why and pocket it and say, I know I sound paranoid, but this just proves what I was telling you about. There are people here who don't want us to get to Constantinople, and they don't want us to get to that body out there. I think we need to go out there and find Margaret Bromwell before they bury whatever they've done to her. And he seems convinced that somebody's killed her.
Mimi just nods and says, I agree. We should get our coats and go.
So Pete, kind of getting himself awake, being the probably having spent many a night passing out, at first was kind of like, oh, it must have been too much drink. But then hearing the discussions about going outside the train, I can't say that I would push for getting off the train. I mean, perhaps it is best to stay within the comfort of this fine locomotive.
Well, you can stay here, but I think that at least some of us should go together.
Right. Yeah, there's way too many loose ends. The body would be a good one to find, but if someone did this, close the window and let out the cats during this time frame of whatever happened, they're probably still on the train.
I mean, and that's what makes sense.
Though they did send a group of men out there to look for the body, they're supposed to bring it back, but if those men are involved with whatever's going on, they might try to bury it instead, and that's my fear.
It's at that time that you guys hear the car door open further down the train towards the rear of the train, and you see Rene Clement and several of the other men come in, still holding the snow on their shoulders as being part of, presumably, either outside or part of this expeditionary force that was sent back to recover the body. And he steps forward, kind of, the men drop back 5-10 feet. He comes forward, seeing you all. He nods his head and takes his hat off and begins knocking the snow off of it. We have found something behind the train. My men and I are at a loss. Could you come and take a look at it? We are scared to move the bodies.
Bodies? Multiple bodies?
We. He looks at the room that you guys are kind of half in and half out of. Margaret Bromwell and Lorna Campbell Barnes.
Barney goes white. I see. Well, that's terrible. Do you mind if we go alone? Make sure that our investigation's independent.
did not know that there would be two. When you see them, you will understand why we did not touch them. They are, and he is extremely shaken. You can tell that several of the men have like frozen vomit on the outside of their outfits, as it appears several of them got sick. They are all as white as the snow that's melting on their shoulders. Renee seems to be keeping it together, as indicates his leadership role in the train. He again looks at the room that you're in. We did not know she was out there. We did not check her room. And he leans forward as if to take you into confidence, Barney. Also, I have two of my men. They go missing. Fabian Moreau and Emile Lachance, the rear conductor. They have not reported.
How well do you know Emile?
This is his first time as the rear conductor. He's been this is 6th run for him, his first season aboard the Orient. Good, dutiful. This is unlike him to not be here. I do not know to do, monsieur. This is beyond me.
Hold on here, Lucky Jacques. If you don't mind me asking a question here.
No.
So, what started with a body that we know of leaving the train somehow, but now there's talk of 2 additional bodies and 2 people missing? Am I hearing this correct? And one of them being Lorna?
She is not wounded. She is dead, monsieur. She's surely deceased.
We'll continue our investigation, Renee. If anyone sees Emile, I would like you to take him into custody so that we can question him. Right now, it's early, but I'm personally am suspicious that he's a part of whatever's going on.
I will do this. And he seems to kind of focus on something and what you've given him as a task that he can do. Yes, I will do this. The passengers are mostly sleeping. I can handle delays or complaints from them, but I will. And he kind of reaches forward and grabs your bicep. I will not compromise justice intended these 2 women by forcing the Orient along. You'll have as much time as you need. And if I find Emile, monsieur, he will not go beyond my sight.
And May and Mimi, you said something about a cat?
Oh, I don't know if that's highly important information.
It gives me an idea that somebody was in here before we got here. It's just some possible evidence. Before we go outside, I want to look at that phonograph there. But maybe we should go, if not outside, see if anybody around here. Wasn't that long since that you left Mona Barnes, if I remember correctly, right?
No. Renee, we'll carry on our investigation. You guys take care of yourself.
You will see my men, cooks, stewards, butlers, everyone. We are at either end of every car. No one will get on or off the train except you. Your movements will be permissible throughout the train.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
As he's like leaving, Mimi will step forward and put her arm on Renee's arm, or her hand on his arm, and just be like, "It's gonna be all right." And I'd like to give him some kind of ease, or like some kind of peace.
Sure. Go right ahead.
Okay. Do you want me to do power and then persuasion?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
Okay, there you go. And how does Mimi affect his demeanor as he begins to, his back straightens a bit and the tension in his like jaw and his neck eases as he nods and he reaches with his opposite hand and kind of puts it over your hand and touches. And as he connects with you flesh to flesh, you can feel a deep sense of loss and sadness. And it's not selfish at all. Whatever he saw outside of the train has affected him deeply, and he's not even thinking of his job. Like you feel this almost like altruistic empathy that's just very, very deep.
We're gonna do the best we can by these people. Don't worry.
We thank God you are all here. I do not know what we would do without you. So Olympians, what would you like to do?
Go
May-
take a look.
Well, May really wants to check out the phonograph and the records, because that's the last thing she remembered. And the weird shit that happened.
Absolutely, you have the option. You can do anything that you would like, but you have the option of staying here in Margaret Bromwell's and continuing the research now on the phonograph, as it has indicated different capabilities. He also mentioned that they have not looked in Lorna Campbell Barnes's room, and then of course there is the site of whatever it is they found.
Mimi knows that she's gotta go take a look at the bodies, just based on what my best shadow friend told me. So she like starts to look around for somebody to get their jackets and looks over at Barney like, so we're gonna go outside?
Yeah, and Barney's actually, he stopped off before coming to the room to put his coat on. He has his pack and he kneels down and he opens it up, and you can see that there's a couple of guns inside. And he says, if we're going out there, we need to make sure we can protect ourselves. You all know how to use a firearm?
I mean, just like point and pull the trigger, right?
No. Yes, but no. Well, I guess
I'll just hold it, and then hopefully we won't need it.
He's got two handguns and he's got a rifle, and he'll take the rifle and give the handguns out to anyone who wants it, and he'll give them some brief, like the usual sage advice, like, squeeze the trigger, don't pull the trigger, don't close both of your eyes, keep, don't hold on to the trigger when you're not going to shoot somebody, don't hold it unless you intend to shoot, stuff like that.
Have no fear, friends. I'm a lawyer in New York City. Firearms are a necessity.
Is Dietrich here with us?
He is. Joe's there. Yeah, he's just kind of looking back and forth. He doesn't seem to be shocked as much as you notice that he's deferring to Barney and not saying anything, which is odd for him because he's had a comment about everything. But he seems to be observing now.
So who else is going outside?
During this whole conversation, May has already started kind of lifting up the photograph, kind of like looking if there's any irregularities with this kind of model, anything weird.
Right. What we're gonna do is we'll the results of that. Give me a mechanical roll as you begin to take this thing apart. The results of which will be after everybody else has left, or we've split the groups up because you guys are the best at splitting the party in Cthulhu, and I love it. So, who's going outside? Who's staying inside? I will let you know this that So far we have Mimi and we have Barney going outside. Do we have Pete going outside as well?
Well, as a gentleman, I will volunteer to stay with the young lady examining the phonograph.
Joe steps forward. Wherever you need me. I can stay here. I can go outside with you all.
Well, can you shoot again?
Yeah.
Well, then you take this and come with us.
No, you hold on to it. And you see him move his vest to the side, and there is the handle, what looks like bronze or copper inlay of some type of handgun. I have brought my own.
I didn't know we were all supposed to bring weapons. I just brought a bunch of shoes.
They can be a weapon of their own, if one's the right way.
And Pete, you hold on to that. If anyone's out there, they might be coming after us too. They're gonna know that we're looking into this. So don't you hesitate to protect yourself and protect May.
You have my word, sir.
All right. Well, Herr Dietrich, Mimi, let's go out into the cold. Joe. So we'll split the party, I guess. That's what we're doing. Cool.
We're really doing it.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yes, and I did, of course, mute myself as I can't possibly make it through this entire thing without doing something audio that's stupid. So yes, I said, Dietrich said to Barney, called me Joe. And of course I had myself muted because, hi, my name's Greg. Nice to meet you. So as you guys all break and go off, we have Honest Pete, Abraham, and May staying in the area, and the result of that mechanical repair roll, it takes you about 5 or 10 minutes, May, and you're able to take this thing apart. It's very well crafted. It seems to have come from somewhere in London. No particular maker or manufacturer. You just notice that some of the parts have been like hammered and printed and things like that in London. As you look through everything, you do notice there is one small cylinder that seems to not be part of any phonograph that you've ever seen before. It's too small to be any type of capture device or imprinting or counter roller. But as you look at it, it's red. It's about the size of half of a pencil, like half of a number 2 pencil, and it's a perfect red cylinder. And it was attached to the flywheel of the main cylinder. That's the only thing that you found that just doesn't add up as to being part of all of this.
Interesting. At this, like, Pete would have been watching her just kind of like meticulously take everything apart, put all the pieces aside very neatly, like in, all these parts go here, all these parts go here. Seems to be muttering to herself in a language she probably doesn't know, but might pick up as Cantonese. And as she finally gets to this part, she's like, takes out one of her notebooks and kind of writes it down. Is there a way for me to take it out?
Yeah, you can take it out as part of. It's not affixed to the main cylinder. It seems to be attached to the main kind of bolt wheel, the rod that the cylinder wraps around. So you can take it apart as you would almost like a mechanical pen. You know, you can unscrew the end, take the spring off, take all the telescoping pieces can be pulled and removed. So you can have it. You can have it in your hand. You can keep it in whatever you'd like, but you can definitely take it apart.
Yeah, she's gonna hold on to that. Pete?
So Pete, during the time where the phonograph was being examined, Pete would probably look for a little while, and then, being distracted, would probably kind of start pacing between, I imagine, what the car door and then the window, like in the room, kind of going back and forth. And Finney knows that it's in there, I believe. But is the gin bottle still within the room? Yeah, so during the time where the examination was being done, Pete would have poured himself a glass of gin, though not his optimal choice.
Right. I believe that we said that the gin bottle was there, but there weren't any glasses that were in there.
Yeah, there were no glasses. That was a thing that May had noted down.
Right.
Well, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So Pete's
Drink
just
gin.
pacing the room with the bottle and the gun, just pacing back and forth, kind of probably touching the window to see how cold it is outside, and glad that he is still within the car or the train.
Yes, it is. It's not freezing cold. It's not like the middle of like a bitter winter. It's definitely below freezing outside, as evidenced by the falling snow, which is a good segue to go outside. So as this 10, 15, 20 minutes has progressed, we have three figures trudging through the snow. Bob Dylan will speak of in the decades to come, two riders were approaching, but apparently he misspoke, and there were three, as the wind begins to howl. As the three of you progress farther back, you can see the footprints, both the out and the return of the expeditionary force that was sent by Renee from the Orient. And as you kind of walk through those same footsteps to kind of get a measure of relief, you see that they're starting to be filled up as well. There's only about 5 or 6 inches of snow, but you're able to traverse it in a way that it's not slow going, or you're not, wet from the knees down or anything like that. But when you get closer, you see that several lanterns have been left in the area. And Barney, you'll remember that when you and Pete looked out from the back of the train, it appeared that there were a lot of lanterns out there, but some of them were moving and some of them weren't. It looks as if many of them were left probably to indicate the site and to help kind of gauge return trips in case the snow did get worse. And as you come forward, the three of you see splayed against the ground beside the tracks 2 bodies. One of them is Margaret Bromwell, who you met as she tried to seduce you. Obviously, Mimi would remember her from the intimate conversation she had. Joe would dismiss her as the woman that did not open the door, and therefore is not too terribly of his concern, as he seems to be focused on the other body, which is that of Lorna Campbell Barnes. Each of the bodies are splayed in an X. The right fingers and right foot of Lorna Campbell Barnes are touching the left fingers and left foot of Margaret Bromwell. So they are forming 2 joined X's, for lack of a better description. They have been gutted, as some very fine instrument has opened them from throat to hip, and what was inside them is now part of the snow. Deep inside the cavities of their bodies, there's still a measure of steam that is rising from the cooling, the cooling corpses, denoting just how recently this has occurred. You see that the contents of the bodies have been discarded. They are not arranged in any particular fashion. They are piled up and thrown down the bank off to the side of the train tracks. The snow is still red here, and as new snow falls, it turns pink and then red as the bodies release what is left of their fluid. You can tell that there are several sunken areas in the snow, which were in all likelihood places where Renee's men have gotten sick. The lamps offer a static glow, but it is primeval here, and the wind howls. What would you like to do?
I think there's a moment where Barney, looking at a terrible corpse like these two is never easy, but he's seen, he's fought in a war, he's seen some things. So there's a moment where his eyes flicker to Mimi and to Joe to see how they're taking in the scene.
Not well. She kind of stopped short, like basically as soon as you can make out what's happened, and then just starts backing up again.
Everyone, including Dietrich, is now going to make a sanity check as the sight of all of this creeps into your brains. You guys have all seen this. It still affects you in that whether or not Mimi has seen something like this, Barney certainly has in the war or variations thereof. But there's something very... It's easy to remove yourself from the fact that these were once people by the almost butcher-esque nature of what's occurred to them. And it's a safe place that your mind kind of rushes your thoughts into. They're not here. These aren't people. But they are, and they were. But your mind is able to trick you a bit. Mimi, as you're watching all of this and you see this becoming as it is, you again hear on the wind, as if yelled from a great distance, with the howls, you hear your best shadow friend say, "Now, if you want to save Pete, step into the X."
Oh, okay. Mimi hears that, and if she wasn't already pale, like, she's as white as the snow. And anyone who was standing close enough could see that her hands are shaking. And she takes a breath and squeezes her eyes shut tight for a second, and then starts walking forward with purpose towards the bodies.
Mimi, what are you doing? You hear Dietrich yell from behind.
I have to see something. And she keeps going, and she's going to go stand inside the X to
So
try and save Pete.
As you place one of the several pairs of shoes that you brought, potentially being the very weapons that Dietrich claimed them to be, as they have carried you into this very similar or familiar battlefield, you step between the right finger's right foot of Lorna Campbell Barnes and the left finger's left foot of Margaret Bromwell. And let's go back to 1933, as you all have just seen Honest Pete Abraham get swept down the hallway. Pete, you are being swept down the hallway, and you are being buffeted against the ground, and you are still stunned by the sight of this creature. I want Aphrodite to do her thing, and I want Barney to roll 1d10. Summer, make a general power check that we told you need to do. Everybody else roll a d10 for loss. Ooh. May, as you see this thing sweep past, you see, by reputation perhaps, the face of Albert Einstein, the face of Dietrich, the face of Lorna Campbell Barnes, a woman that you knew decades ago but somehow pops in your memory. And as you're going through there, what freezes you to your core is you see the face of Ruby Foster. And as it rolls past May, you freeze and begin to scream, and you cannot stop. Okay, Aphrodite, you are free to move. Dawn, with your temporary insanity, the same thing has happened to Barney. He freezes in place. And as May drops to her knees, screaming with the sounds and the sights and the smells of Hong Kong blowing in through an inch or two of air before the window as the drapes blow forward, the sight of the peak in the background as she sees the face of her child, something that Barney does not see. She sees the face of Ruby Foster pressed against this flesh, screaming with a mouth wide open, eyes desperate and meeting hers for a moment. It tears May asunder as she drops to the floor of the asylum, screaming. Barney, you freeze. You feel every fiber of your body, your brain screaming, don't move, don't move. And you can't. Back out in the blob, as it continues to rush forward, it reaches and grabs Pete and slams him against the ground again. For 30 damage as Pete's body cracks and bends on itself, and Honest Pete Abraham, perhaps the savior of New York City, floats lifelessly in this cloud of fallen souls. And quickly his face joins those within the mass as Honest Pete Abraham begins to scream. Aphrodite, you hear in your ear, you have failed to save him. But there is still a chance. And back in 1915, you hear, you are the only one that walks both worlds. And back in 1933, you must accept it, Aphrodite. You wish to continue. And back in 1915, I told you it would lead to your destruction. But now, it has led to his. And in 33, it is time, Aphrodite. What will you do? And you feel a pull towards the purple.
I go to the purple. Just take off sprinting towards it.
And as you turn and run through the purple, do you drop the tablet or do you take it with you?
She drops it.
You run, and as your bare feet slap against the floor, you hear the scream of Honest Pete Abraham, of Einstein, of Joseph Dietrich, of Ruby Foster and countless others as this mass, this stitched together blob, roils and rolls chasing you down the hallway. And without looking behind you, you leap. Barney, in 1915, you and Joseph Dietrich are standing in the snow as the howling wind tells you that this storm threatens to be worse. And as you watch this newly minted friend walk into this crime scene, this ritual site, and steps into this X, you see her form shimmer. You hear whispers on the wind, but you can't make out words. You can see that Joe hears them too as he's looking around for a sight, some type of projector or some type of voice where this is coming from, but he sees it or hears it or cannot locate it. But then you both have your eyes drawn and you actually see Joe pull a gun from the brass and copper handled gun from inside of his shirt. He puts his other hand on your shoulder as the two of you watch Mimi vanish. And in her spot is a naked, pale woman with long black hair. And the wind begins to howl. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we will end our mid-season finale of Project Cronus. Yay! Oh, happy fun times here on Project Cronus. Happy fun time. Awesome. Everybody, just so you know, the Stitch Together, which is the name of the creature that you saw, is the brainchild of Lord Conti, and I dipped my toe a little bit into the creation process, but he is the Frankenstein behind that monster. So, let's go around and talk to all the cast and see how they're doing. Let's start with Finny. Finny, how are you doing? How are you doing?
Well, I'm not terrified anymore because I'm dead. So can't go wrong with that. There's still I don't know. I'm speechless. Well done, sir. Well done. And the rest of the folks too. Great cast. It's so much fun working with everybody. Like I like seeing how the stories keep coming out more and more. Although Pete's may be cut short, but it was still fun. Yeah, I am at Flathagen on the Twitter, and I'm here with Greg and the rest of the folks on Saturdays. Because Greg, you are my everything.
Thank you. I try. Everybody go follow this man on Twitter. He's nice, and we need nice in this world. Now when you need sexy and to the point, let's go over to Don. Don, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. That's not how I expected today to go. Yeah, those sanity losses at the end there with whatever that creature is stitched together, they went real bad for us, which is great. It's great for the story, bad for the characters. I'm really excited with this idea that at least Aphrodite and Mimi can hop between worlds, and that they can actually more directly impact and kind of manipulate that kind of flow between the two. That opens up a world of possibilities. And this episode really introduced a lot of new ideas of what might be possible within the mythology of our game that are really exciting to me. I'm going to be buzzing about this for a while. Yeah, I loved it. You guys are great. You can follow me on Twitter at Donathan Fry, and I play games and write stuff and post it all there.
Awesome, brother. Let's jump up and we will go to Kiana. Kiana, how did you enjoy today? Yay.
I don't know how to describe the feelings I'm feeling. It's a lot of fun as a player going through this. I'm gonna take some time to wrap my head around what the fuck just happened, because a lot of things just happened. There have been a couple times where, you can see me yelling in the background. I almost literally screamed with Ruby's situation was stitched together. So thank you, Lord Conti, for that. Yep. But man, I want to know what happens next so badly, because this is a fantastic game with fantastic people doing this mind and now clearly time-bending story where we're going to slowly unravel over the rest of the next half of the season. But yeah, until next episode, you guys can find me over on Twitter at KNS. Best way to figure out what I'm doing at any given point, because I'm all over the internet, playing games, doing fun stuff. I'll highlight that next Thursday is my birthday, and I am doing a birthday charity stream. So on Scoticus channel from 6 to 12 p.m. Eastern, we will be playing some games, doing some silly stretch goals, and all the money will be going to Childhood Cancer Canada to benefit them, as they are cause near and dear to my heart. So definitely check it out. I'll be doing some more announcements coming up as to what we're doing. We're still planning, but hopefully, I think Summer is planning to be on there, so hopefully Summer will be there. And yeah. Until next time, guys.
Fantastic, and happy pre-birthday. We will celebrate in style whenever next we meet after Gen Con. And I have already written it down on my special purple index cards for Project Cronus. Kiana's birthday. Don't kill her quickly. I mean, don't kill her is what it says, I think.
Thanks, Greg.
You're more than welcome. And finally, let's go over to Summer. Summer, how are you?
I'm psyched as hell. I feel real good. I'm very excited. I love everything that's happening. I'm sorry that Pete died. That is my B. But I'm gonna do the best that I can fix it. And also, did you really think this through? Like I wasn't gonna kill Joe again? Because we need to have a conversation about that. You put him right in front of me. You know that, right? Wow. I just feel really blessed in this Chili's. It's just so good. I'm so happy right now. Yeah. Follow me on Twitter. That's where I talk about everything I do. I don't know how me and Kiana are going to play a different game tonight. Like, we have to digest this and figure it out later. Man, yay. Yes, this is great. Good job, everybody. So proud of all of you.
Yay, Olympians! Awesome. As for me, I'm Grimjack21502 on these here Twitches and those there Twitters. You can follow me there for all things Pulp, Cthulhu, Project Cronus, Project Athena related. I will let you guys know that a boon came in from Steven midway through all of this. I decided to wait until we start back up again. I was going to be nice. I wasn't going to give it to you now because it wasn't going to help you what I have in store for you, and that would just seem cruel for me to do so when you can actually utilize it. So the boons will be coming from Dwight Burke. Like I said, for everybody else, chat, thank you very much for being here and being great and being supportive and talking to all these people. And me, it is the best. This crew is the best. They are passionate and fanatic, and I couldn't love that combination more. You can see me tomorrow night, Project Athena, from 7 to 9 here on the channel. Tonight, later, you can see me on the Greyhawk channel as we do the Valley of Soot and Skull from 9 until whenever it's done. If I get back from ice cream in time, I will be joining in on the meat grinder over on Encounter Roleplay. But my kids have surprised me with ice cream, and as I am going to Gen Con and won't be able to get ice cream, I cannot refuse. So with that, and with the fact that we will be dark next week for Gen Con, if you're going to Gen Con, I've been saying this in all my streams, if you see an old guy standing in the middle of a sea of people and he appears to be crying, and it looks like me, I would like you to rush forward, administer whatever alcohol you have on your person, and get me the fuck out of there, because I'm having some type of fit. And that's not a joke at all. I need you to save me like a Saint Bernard. Anywho, I will see you all then. I love you all. And yes, Gen Con, as Lord Conti says. By the way, this is just for the cast. If you want to get back at Lord Conti, he plays 3-gun over on Firefly. Just throwing that out there. And as we say goodbye to all of you, take care of yourselves in 2018. It is shitty. We'll be back here waiting for you in 1933, 1915-ish, wherever we are. We'll be waiting. Love you guys.